If you've ever used a traditional body butter and thought, okay, my skin feels soft, so why does it still look dry? This is exactly what we're talking about today. Let me say first that body butters are not bad. They can be beautiful for sealing, softening, and supporting that protective layer on the skin. But here's the problem. If there's no water in the product, it cannot hydrate the skin in the way that a water-based formula can. So what happens is you may get that rich, buttery feel on top, but underneath the skin can still look crepey, dull, or thirsty because the formula mostly is just sealing in what's already there. That's why today we're making a hyaluronic acid body butter cream, a water-based emulsified body butter that brings hydration into the formula first, then uses the butters, oils, esters, and structure to cushion and seal it in, because soft skin and hydrated skin are not always the same thing. The confusion usually starts with the word emulsified. A lot of makers see an emulsifier, an emulsifying wax, BTMS, glyceryl stearate, cetyl alcohol, or cetearyl alcohol in a formula and assume that automatically makes the product an emulsified body butter. But that is not how emulsions work. An emulsifier can be sitting in a completely anhydrous formula, and that product can still have no water phase at all. That kind of formula may feel creamier than a plain whipped butter, and it may even rinse or spread differently on damp skin. But if there is no water phase, there is still no true water-based emulsion inside the jar. An emulsifier is not magic by itself. It needs something to emulsify. In most body creams, that means we have a water phase and an oil phase, and the emulsifier helps hold those two phases together. So the problem is not that anhydrous body butters are bad. The problem is that the word emulsified gets used too loosely, and then people start believing a structured butter is the same thing as a hydrating cream. Those are not the same product category. And once we mix those categories up, we also start mixing up what the product can realistically do for the skin. When that terminology gets muddy, the expectations get muddy too. People start using an anhydrous butter and expecting it to behave like a water-based moisturizer. And that is where the disappointment starts. Product may feel rich, thick, and expensive, but that does not automatically mean it is adding hydration. It may be softening the surface. It may be helping slow water loss. It may be giving the skin a smoother, more protected feel. All of that can be valuable, especially when the skin barrier needs support. But if the skin already looks dry, tight, papery, or crepey, sealing alone may not be enough. You can keep applying more butter, but if the formula is not bringing water and water binding ingredients into the system, you may still be missing the part your skin is asking for. That is why someone can say, my skin feels coated, but it still does not look hydrated. The product is not necessarily failing at its own job. It may just be doing a sealing job when the skin needed hydration first. That distinction matters because it changes how we formulate. Instead of asking, how can I make this butter heavier? We need to ask, what is missing from the system? That is where a true emulsified body butter cream becomes useful. We are not throwing away what body butters do well. We are keeping the richness, the cushion, the softness, and the protective after feel, but we are building those things around a real water phase. That water phase gives us room for ingredients that an anhydrous body butter just simply cannot carry in the same way. In this formula, that means rose hydrosol, hydroxyethyl urea, panthenol, and high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. Those ingredients are there to support the hydrated feel before the butter phase ever comes in. Then the oil phase brings the comfort. That is where the cupuaçu butter, kokum butter, plum kernel oil, meadowfoam seed oil, esters, and dimethicone help create that rich, silky body butter experience. The emulsifier system brings the water side and the oil side together. Fatty alcohols and structure system help the cream set up with body, cushion, and stability. So instead of making a heavier butter and hoping it feels more effective, we are building a better balanced system. The goal is not greasy. The goal is not waxy. The goal is hydrated, rich, silky, and elegant. That is the promise of this hyaluronic acid body butter cream. It gives the skin the water-based side first, then uses the butter phase to help soften, cushion, and seal that hydrated feel in place. So that's the distinction that I want you to keep in mind as we move into the formula. We're not just adding an emulsifier to oils and calling it an emulsified body butter. We're building a true water-based cream system with a water phase, an oil phase, an emulsifier system, and enough structure to give it that rich body butter feel. Because this is for dry, crepey-looking skin, the formula has to do more than feel nice in the jar. It needs hydration, cushion, glide, and enough protection to help that hydrated feel last. Okay, so for this formula, I'm starting with the water phase because this is what separates the product from a traditional anhydrous body butter. So I've already gone ahead and done the first portion, which is to hydrate my hyaluronic acid. I did that last night. Basically, just sprinkle this. I took 15% of my water portion, and then I sprinkled my hyaluronic acid. And this is high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. I just sprinkled that on the top and then left it. I didn't stir it in. I didn't do anything. I just left that overnight for 24 hours. And so you prehydrate this first in the reserved portion of your water, because if you just dump it into the dry batch, it could clump, float, or create those little fisheye gels that are annoying to fix later. So then you just go ahead and let that sit overnight, which I did. So we're just going to put that off to the side momentarily, and we'll get to that in a second. So in my main vessel here, I've gone ahead and combined my water and my rose hydrosol that I'm using today. So the first ingredient that went in is the rose hydrosol, and this is doing more than just giving the formula a pretty story behind it, right? It becomes part of the actual water phase. So instead of building this cream on plain water alone, we're giving the formula a soft botanical base right from the beginning. And so then I've added my distilled water to this. So I've got the rose hydrosol as well as the distilled water. And this is the rest of the water phase that gives the formula its true cream structure. Without water, this would just be another emulsified body butter cream, just an anhydrous butter system. So we've got our water portion there. Our next ingredient is going to be our disodium EDTA. This is our chelator, and its job is to help support preservation by binding metal ions that can interfere with stability and preservation performance. Then I'm going to be using a tiny amount of sodium citrate along with some citric acid. And these are here to help support the pH range of the finished product, because when you're working with water-based formulas, pH is not an option. It has to be checked, and it has to make sense for the ingredients that we're using. So sodium citrate, citric acid. Give it a stir, pop it on top of your hot plate to dissolve those powders, and then we can continue. Once our powders are dissolved, we can go ahead and move on to our next ingredients. And so the next one is going to be propanediol, and this is the humectant. It also helps with the formula elegance and hurdle technology. It's going to support the water phase, improve your skin feel, and it helps keep the formula from feeling like flat or sticky. Hydroxyethyl urea is one of the key hydration ingredients in this formula. This is not the same thing as regular urea. It's a liquid humectant ingredient, and I'm using it here to support that smoother, more hydrated feel without making the cream feel heavy or greasy. It's sold as Hydrovance. So far, I have only found one supplier who continues to sell this ingredient. I'll put that on the screen. Used to be able to get it pretty much everywhere years ago. So if you have a supplier of this, let me know down in the comment section. Next, we have panthenol, which brings humectant and skin conditioning support. It fits really well in this type of a body cream because it helps round out the water phase without making the formula overly complicated. And then we come to our fully hydrated hyaluronic acid gel. It's nice and smooth. It's got a great viscosity to it, and it goes back into the water phase. In this formula, it's mainly supporting the surface hydration, slip, and that soft, cushiony after feel. Again, I used 15% of my water portion to hydrate this hyaluronic acid. And again, this is the high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. Okay, and then the last part of the water phase structure is Sepamax Zen, and this is for rheology support. I'm not asking this to build the entire cream by itself. It's just here as a stability insurance aid to help support the body of the emulsion. So we're going to go ahead and just sprinkle that on the top, and then we're going to get this underneath our overhead stirrer. So my camera battery died right in the middle of filming. I've already got a few different things in my vessel here for the oil phase, but I'll just go ahead and talk about them. There's only 3 ingredients in here. It's really not that big of a deal. Okay, so we're going to start off with our polyaqual 2W, and this is what helps bring the water phase and the oil phase together into a true emulsion. This is the difference between having a butter with an emulsifier just sitting in it and actually building a water-based emulsified cream. Then I added cetearyl alcohol. This gives the cream body, structure, and that richer cushion that you expect from a body butter cream. Then I put in bihenyl alcohol, and this is doing more than just thickening up the cream. It gives the formula that plush, silky cushion, but it also helps to strengthen the structure of the buttercream. Bihenyl alcohol has a higher melt point than fatty alcohols like cetyl alcohol or cetearyl alcohol. So for a summer body product, it gives me a little bit more heat resilience support in the backbone. That does not make the formula heat proof, but it does make more sense than relying only on lower melting fatty alcohols when I want this cream to hold up better in warmer weather, especially if you're going to be shipping this. Try out the bihenyl alcohol. It's wonderful. All right, now we're caught up, and the next ingredient is going to be, this is your butter portion. So this is cupuaçu. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Anyways, cupuaçu butter first, and this is one of the main richness ingredients in the formula. It helps give that creamy, cushiony body butter feel without relying on a huge amount of heavy butter. This does have a smell to it, so just be aware of that, which is one of the reasons why I'm using a rose hydrosol today to kind of mask that just a little bit. Then I'm using kokum butter. Kokum gives firmness and structure, so the cream does not feel loose, weak, or too lotion-like in the jar. Next up is going to be plum kernel oil, and this is a signature botanical oil in this formula. It gives a more elegant skin feel and keeps the formula from feeling like a basic shea butter cream. Meadowfoam seed oil is here for stability and emollients. It helps support the oil phase while keeping the sensory profile smooth and polished. Isoamylorate is one of the ingredients helping with the glide. This keeps the cream from feeling too heavy or greasy when it spreads. This is an excellent emollient. I use it a lot. Hint, if you want your body butters to feel less greasy, use less ingredients that will make it feel greasy, like oils and butters. Use less. Use esters instead. Next up, we have dicaprylyl carbonate, and this gives a dry, silky feel. This is one of the reasons the formula can still have a body butter feel without turning into a greasy coating. Dimethicone is here for the slip, shine, and that soft protective finish on the skin. I'm not using a huge amount, just enough to make the cream feel more elegant and help support the final sensory profile. And lastly, we have our vitamin E. This is included to support the oil phase. It's not the preservative for the formula, but it helps support the oils and butters from an oxidation standpoint. And then we just pop this on top of our hot plate and melt that all down. Okay, once both of your phases are heated and fully uniform, the oil phase goes into the water phase, and that's where we form the emulsion using a homogenizer for roughly around 60 seconds. I did pop this back on top of my hot plate for just a few minutes. If you're going to do that, just be careful that you stay way below 140 degrees so that we don't degrade that hyaluronic acid, okay? So let's just go ahead and get this oil phase into the water phase, and then we'll get our homogenizer in here. Okay, after the emulsion is smooth, I'm going to switch away from the aggressive mixing with my homogenizer and let the cream cool with a steady mixing on the overhead stir. At this point, I'm trying to avoid whipping air into the body of the buttercream because I don't want a foamed product. So we're going to turn this on low and let this continue mixing and cooling down. And then we will be getting ready for our colorant as well as our cool down ingredients. Let's go ahead and check our temps. All right, we are good to go ahead and add our preservative and our cool down ingredients. First, let's go ahead and get that colorant in there. I am using Sparkle Pink Mica today, and I mixed that with some of the oil portion, some of that meadowfoam seed oil. So let's go ahead and get that into the batch first. And this is going to go ahead and go with our rose theme today. I just wanted a really, really light, soft blush. Nothing overwhelming. While this is continuing to cool down, I'm going to go ahead and add pomegranate glycerite. I make my own glycerites, and so this is one of the botanical glycerites that I kept in the formula. It supports the whole Mother's Day kind of concept that I was going for this entire month of May, and it gives us a botanical touch without turning the formula into like an extract soup. So let's go ahead and get the pomegranate glycerite into the batch. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add our preservative, which is liquid germal plus. This is a broad spectrum preservative, and because this is a water-based jar product, preservation is non-negotiable. Must have a preservative anytime you make a water product. So you'll notice that the mica that I use just gives a really, really soft blush appearance. It's not doing any kind of skincare work here. And it's intentionally very low because I want a really soft color, not a gritty or overly pearly cream, or not something that's really, really bright. Just something very subtle. I'm going to be using a small amount of fragrance oil in addition to the rose hydrosol, which gives it its own scent. I'm going to be using sandalwood fragrance. That also goes down in the cool down. I'm keeping it very low because the rose hydrosol already gives the formula a soft aromatic direction, and I don't want the fragrance to take over the product, but sandalwood pairs beautifully with rose. I have removed this from the overhead stir. I just want you guys to take a look at the lusciousness of this cream. This is not the final viscosity, but it is building. It is creamy. It is smooth and silky. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and take the pH, and then I leave this sit overnight for 24 hours, and I go ahead and check the pH again. So let's go ahead and do that now. I have 9 grams of distilled water. I'm going to add 1 gram of the cream to make a 10% solution. Look at that. How could you be more perfect? Exactly 1 gram. All right, let's go ahead and mix this up. All right, we are coming in at around a 6.63. I am going to lower this just a little bit by adding a little bit of lactic acid. Okay, we are now at about a 5.64, and that's good enough for me, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Give this one more stir, and then I'm just going to leave this overnight. I'm going to recheck that pH in the morning, And we're going to take a look at the final viscosity. This is beautiful. It is the slightest pink blush color, which is beautiful. Look at how silky. This is gorgeous. All right, let's just go ahead and leave this overnight. I'll bring you guys back in a few minutes. Okay, so at this point, it's been actually a couple of days because I've been very busy with medical appointments last week. And again, I'm going to be busy this week. So the cream has been sitting here covered. I transferred it into a different bowl, but you can see the texture of it is beautiful, thick, creamy, silky, just luscious. So it's had that time that it needed to settle. I did check the pH again, and this is one of those formulas where I don't judge the final texture immediately after making it, because the fatty alcohols, the butters, the emulsifier system, and the polymer support, they all need time to fully come together. So I did check this after 24 hours, but like I said, then again, I let this sit. It's been a couple of days now. And then I'm going to just keep on watching this and checking the texture and the pH and the appearance and any signs of separation during the stability testing. But everything is good to go here. This is just looking luscious and beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and get this into a piping bag, and then we can go ahead and get this into the jar. It has been many years since I have piped anything. So if you're expecting one of those really beautiful piping of the body butter sessions, this is probably not going to go that way, but I'll give it my best try. All right. Hey, not too bad, huh? Haven't done that in a really long time. That's not horrible. Have a little bit left. All right, not great, but that's just the leftover. Look at this beauty, though. Isn't that beautiful? So what I'm looking for is a smooth, glossy, scoopable cream that still has that body butter cushion, but it spreads more elegantly than a traditional anhydrous butter. Let's go ahead and do a little demo, shall we? Take a little bit that was on the spatula. Very nice, beautiful. Oh gosh, silky. Wow, very nice. This feels really lovely, you guys. Really elegant. And the scent is wonderful. It's not too much rose. It's not too much sandalwood. They pair beautifully together. Oh gosh, this feels really lovely. Just beautiful, silky goodness. That's awesome. So this should feel rich, but not greasy. It should have a really nice slip, but not feel loose and jiggly and watery. It should leave the skin feeling soft and hydrated, not just coated. This feels really elegant, really beautiful. You guys need to try this. So, a body butter can be beautiful for sealing and protecting the skin, but that does not automatically make it hydrating. Adding an emulsifier to an anhydrous formula does not magically turn it into an effective emulsified cream. For this formula, we built the hydration into the system first, and then we use the structure system to give it that soft, cushiony body butter feel. That's the difference between just coating the skin and building a formula that actually supports hydration and comfort together. If this was helpful, make sure that you like the video, subscribe, and share it with another maker who needs to hear the difference between sealed and hydrated. The written tutorial and full procedure are available up on my Patreon. Thanks again for hanging out with me today at Creation Station, and I'll see you in the next formulation. If you're a YouTube channel member, the written formula and instructions are waiting for you in the description box. If you're not a member, you can also get this formula along with more than 100 others and all future releases by joining my Patreon, or you can pick it up individually in my Etsy shop. All the links are below. Choose what's right for you.